Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And we're going to have a great discussion today. We're going to be talking a lot about how, if you are a coach, some of the tips that you can use, but trust me, everything that we're going to learn applies to everybody. So we're going to have such a great time today. So please join me in welcoming Luke Charlton to our program today. Welcome, Luke. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Deb. How are you?
I am perfect. Well, let me tell people just a little bit about you, and then we will dive in. So in 2013, Luke Charlton decided to quit his comfortable six-figure per year government job, move halfway around the world, and start on an online business as a coach. He finally discovered this formula for online success and has now helped over 4,000 coaches grow their business online. Luke has been featured in Six Figure Coach magazine, spent in excess of $16 million on advertising, banked $50 million in sales for his clients, and has been hired by top ad agencies. So again, Luke, how are you?
I'm doing very well, very well.
Perfect. I love it. Well, and if people couldn't tell, you're not here in the States. You are in Australia. I love this. I love that we reach around the world. And the fact that tech allows us to do this, right? It is some horrible, awful time in the morning for you. And it's almost at the end of my day for me. So, but I think that my listeners and viewers always want to know a little bit more about how my guests got to where they are today. So tell us, how did you discover that this is your passion in life?
It's a good question. So you mentioned that I left my corporate job. It's literally 10 years ago to the month. Actually, it might be July is to the month. 10 years ago. It's crazy. You feel like in business you live multiple lifetimes in one. Right. In a decade. But so what happened was, like most people, when you kind of come out of college, for us we call it university, you just go into a 9 to 5. I was never really entrepreneurial. And what happened was I enjoyed the nine to 5 jobs for maybe like 6 months or so, and then I would get kind of bored and monotonous, right? Because you learn all there is to know and you stop growing, and then I'd go on to the next job, and then that would be really fun for the next. And I didn't realize until after I did that a few times that that's what the problem was, right? That I just stopped, everything got monotonous and I stopped growing. And so I thought, you know what, I can't do this for the rest of my life, because where I'm from is from Canberra, which is kind of like Washington, DC. It's very, it's like a government town. And the only way to move up is if someone dies or if someone retires. So you're basically stuck in your job for a long time. And I'm like, I can't do that. So that's why I quit my job. And at the time I was kind of still searching of like, what do I want to do with my life? And this is like, I was about 25. And I did my personal training certificate, did some personal training. I really enjoyed that. And then I also came across coaching, like life coaching, and fell in love with the idea of being able to, coach people one-on-one. And so I thought, you know what, I'll combine my passion for health and wellness with coaching, life coaching, do more of like a physical and mental side of, getting in shape. So I moved to London with the idea of becoming like a health and fitness coach. And I basically failed miserably. Basically the whole time there, I was there for about 12 months. It was just like throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, basically, in terms of the my marketing strategies. So I was doing like webinars, I was doing blogging, I was doing Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, I was doing Google so it wasn't YouTube Live back then, it was Google Hangouts, doing a ton of different things. And and basically failing in all of them. I think I did about 17 different strategies. I got so desperate that I had to borrow money off my family just to survive over there. I joined like MLMs, just to try and find opportunities to make money. I was trying to sell mobile apps to restaurants, like literally door knocking at the end to try and like generate sales.
Painful.
Very painful. So basically I had no idea what I was doing. The reason why I moved to London is because my family's from there. So I have my UK passport, and I thought, it would be easier to get clients because there's more people in London.
People, right.
That was the logic. But yeah, as I said, it didn't really work out that way. And so I ended up moving back to Australia. I ended up living with my nan, actually. She was, because I was in a lot of debt then, racked up a lot of debt, but she was the only one that would let me live with her rent-free, which was very kind of her. And I got a side job in a bar. And that was great because it allowed me to pay my bills, to start off with, pay my debt, but really realize, take a couple of steps back and go, okay, what I'm doing is not working. And it gave me some time to figure out, okay, if I'm going to do this, what I'm doing is not working, throwing spaghetti at the wall. I need to find out what works. And one of the things that I realized I was doing was kind of like chasing the bright, shiny objects. So trying the latest, they call it funnel in marketing, my industry, like webinar funnels and all these different types of, that was when funnels started to become big. But one guru said, oh, you got to do networking events. The next one guru said, you got to be doing, webinars. The next one said, you got to be doing whatever, Google Hangouts. You got to write a book. You got to do this. So I was just jumping from bright, shiny object to bright, shiny object. I'm like, you know what? I can't, whatever I choose, I have to stick with something and actually see it out. Because if I didn't get results within a couple of months, I would just change to the next thing. So that was my first big realization. And I was also focusing on the tactical side of things, the bright, shiny things. And from doing some reading and research, I realized I needed to focus more on the fundamentals. And and the fundamentals aren't, the sexiest things, but they are what gets results. So I started studying like old school copywriters, how they got results, the Claude Hopkins and David Ogilvy's, Gary Halbert, those type, Gene Schwartz, those type of copywriters. And one of the things that they did is studying the fundamentals, but also 100 years ago, the way that they used to advertise businesses, they would put up an ad in an ad in a newspaper. Could be for whatever, like could be for a course, a product, whatever it is. And the person would literally write in like physical with a check or whatever, or money. And that's how you would buy a product from like an advertisement. Right. And that's how you would that's how you build your list, right? It'd be like a mailing list. And then once you have that mailing list, then you would send them more, advertisements to your mailing list of buyers. Well, we have that online now, which is your email list. So I thought, what, I'm just going to keep things simple. I've heard everyone tell me you've got to build your list. So I'm just going to focus on building my list. And so I just focused on getting people to opt into my list and sending consistent emails. Not the sexiest approach. Everyone knows that they they need to be doing follow-up. Everyone, that's one of those boring things, but it's this consistency of building my list and sending consistent emails that had the right message that allowed me to start getting consistent clients for the first time. So that was back in like 2015. And then so I started getting good at copywriting, started helping other coaches with the same strategy: build your list, email your list. And then I also went from there to, I really didn't like the organic strategies of growing business, being in going into Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups and networking events. And I knew that I had to figure out paid advertising. And in the beginning, I wasted a lot of money trying to figure out what was. And I found a really great mentor, and actually contracted with him in his agency. And I went from spending $20 a day to almost $200,000 a month, like literally overnight. I was just thrown in the deep end. So I learned very quickly on what it takes to run advertising campaigns, and I applied that with the email side of things. And so now basically, that was back in 2016. I kind of left his agency and started my own. And as you said in the beginning, I spent over $16 million. Actually, it's probably more like 20 million now. That was a few years ago, that $16 million number. So now I help coaches and high ticket service professionals to basically turn paid advertising into clients, and email is one of the biggest strategies. But the most important message here in terms of, I struggled for a long time. And what really changed things around for me was the key fundamentals. And I'm more than happy to go into what they are. But I was focusing on the things that people know that they should be doing, but don't really do. For example,
because they're not sexy, they're not fun.
Right. Like researching your market. So we can talk more about that if you want. But, that's the first step, is knowing your market better than they know themselves, really. So then you can create a message that resonates with that market. That's the stuff that I've really fell in love with. And why a lot of people come to see me now is to help them with their message. And I just basically, if we're doing it for them in my agency, we just do the fundamentals. If they want me to consult or coach them on that, I tell them to go to the fundamentals, basically. But yeah, it was really just focusing on those and then not being distracted by the bright, shiny objects, right? So the new funnels, there's a new funnel basically every week, it feels like. There's new updates to the Facebook advertising platform. I don't focus, I haven't gone through a Facebook advertising course in years on all the latest updates. I don't focus on that. I just focus on things that don't change, like human psychology. If I know, if I understand that, then my advertisements will convert, and they do.
Right.
So that's a brief story of my last 10 years.
I love it. And it is so true that we get caught up in the bright, shiny object. I always laugh that I'm the squirrel person, right? Yeah. And especially when a guru or somebody we trust, or all of those, somebody who writes the book about it, all those things, when they say, oh my gosh, you should be here, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. And sometimes maybe, you need to switch to those, but if you don't have the basics down, it's not going to matter.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that is the biggest thing that people forget.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a saying that one of my friends has. He said, a new funnel won't fix a broken message, right? A new funnel, or another way of saying that is a new marketing strategy won't fix a broken message. So yeah, you could go from building a Facebook group to get clients, or you could go to a webinar, or whatever the strategies online. But if your message, your offer, right, that you're promoting is not resonating, it doesn't really matter what strategy that you do. You're still leading them to the same offer that they don't want. So if you want to grow your business, it's really all about getting the message right. Right. And then strategy later.
So how do you develop that message? How do you know that, as you said, it's going to appeal to the right people, as opposed to, gee, I want to write for everybody?
Yes. So, I mean, the first step is you want to, there's kind of two steps here. I'll explain why. The first step, the fundamental, is you want to pick a specific target market. Okay. Everyone's heard the term kind of niche down. So you want to get clear on who your dream client or your dream customer is. Now, the reason why I said that's two steps is because often there's a step before where you have to get, I have to help my clients wrap their head around why we want to get more specific. So I have to kind of convince them.
Because they want to serve everybody.
Yes. And the problem with that is you try and serve everybody, you end up, your marketing message becomes so broad that it doesn't really appeal to anyone. So an example might be, because I speak to business owners a lot that struggle, and they want me to help them, get clients online. And they're like, why am I attracting low quality leads? And their message is something like how to grow your small to, how to scale your small to medium sized business, or just how to grow your, how to grow. That's literally the message. It's like, I'll help you grow your small to medium sized business, or I'll help you generate more profits for your business. That's kind of like the headline on one of their webinars or whatever. And the problem with how to get more profits for your business, that literally, that's a headline that appeals to, it could be a freelance photographer, it could be like a
and
$100 million a year company. Yeah. So what happens is, because there's so much competition in today's marketplace, we're bombarded with so many messages that message just goes over people's heads, right? And you don't end up standing out, and then your click costs, your advertising costs are, quite expensive. Or the other end is, if it does work and you've got a very broad message, you often attract a lot of low quality leads. And generally what that means is not that they're low quality people, just that they're newer business owners, or they're just people that are unqualified for your product or your service, basically.
Right.
So by getting more specific, you're able to get high quality leads, and you're able to serve people that you actually enjoy serving, people that are a better fit for your product, people that, your conversion rates go up, your advertising costs go down. And it just makes it easy to stand out by getting very, very specific about who your dream client is. And then you have a message that stands out. So for example, maybe my dream client is a coach, right? So I can say, hey, in my advertisement, dear coach or dear coaches, or maybe if it's a coach over six figures, here's a message to coaches earning over six figures, right? So thinking through who your dream client is allows you to stand out better in the marketplace and attract a high quality prospect. Right.
And as you mentioned, we get bombarded with, things, whether, whatever the media source is. It used to be, it was really easy when there were only like 3 television channels and a couple newspapers and the internet hadn't been invented yet. But now it's overwhelming, and our brains as consumers shut off because we can't process it all. I've shared this story several times on the podcast, that I was at a networking thing one time, and there was this lovely woman there who sold skincare products. And so you get around to and what do you do? And she said, well, I provide, services, skincare services, lotion, and we all went, and she, and so basically her audience, her target market was anybody with skin, right? That's everybody, but for the life of us, we couldn't think of anybody with skin, right? And so we worked with her, and her, fine-tuned her message down to, I work with teenage boys who have acne. And then we either knew that or we knew right then who she needed to talk to, who we needed to refer her to, things like that. Now, could she, work with a 20-year-old woman who had acne? Sure. All those various things. But when she fine-tuned her message, it helped us help her.
Right. Exactly right. And the other thing is, there's a misconception there. Like, it's a really great example because, you said that the skincare lotion could help a wide variety of different target markets, right? And there's a misconception there that, well, okay, now that I'm helping, teenagers who have acne, that's what that's my whole company is going to be like that for the next, forever. It's like, no, this is a marketing campaign, right? You you craft a message, you bring that customer in and get them selling. Hey, guess what? You can actually create another message, another campaign that goes to different landing pages that maybe speaks to old, women over 40 that still have acne, right? And now there's a different, different revenue, different type of customer coming in. So this niche that you've carved out it's not a forever thing. It's just a one avenue thing. And the goal there is, so you pick a niche, you scale that up as high as it can go. And then once that's at maximum capacity, then you can move on to the next niche, right? And then the next vertical, et cetera. So don't think that just because you define a dream client or customer, you're stuck with that forever. No, this is just a marketing campaign to help you stand out so you can make some sales, basically.
Right. Yep. And sometimes you do see, that somebody sticks with something. Here in the States, the car manufacturers, often you see things like that. So like Subaru, when Subaru is advertising, they are advertising to people who like the outdoors, people who hike, the bicyclists, all of those things. They're not marketing to somebody who is going to, the $1,000 a plate banquet or, things like that. And they're very and they don't try to be those other things. That's the other thing. Now, if they sell a car like that, that's fine. But they know that their brand is for outdoors people of a certain age and demographic, because they're not inexpensive either. And they do not deviate.
Absolutely. And what you just described there is, so they know their target market, right? They know it very well. These big companies spend a lot of money on research, because what they understand is that's where it all starts. And this is the big thing that we entrepreneurs and business owners, because we're so in love with our product or our program, our course, whatever it is that we're selling, that's where our focus is. And so we tend to talk, we tend to talk about all the things that we love about that, the features, about the product or program. And we forget that we're actually selling it to a market. And that's actually that's the most important thing, because if you don't have a market, you won't have any sales. So
you can have the greatest thing in the world, but if nobody's buying it.
So coming back to what I was saying about the copywriters, one of the things that they did, like world-class copywriters, is they would, before creating a product, they would go to a market, right, that had a need that was unserved, whatever it could be. Right, let's take acne as an example for teenagers. So they would go to that market and they would research everything about that market, like all the frustrations that the teenagers have about having acne, how embarrassed it made them feel, blah, blah, blah. So they would understand that market inside and out. Then what they would do is they would write a sales letter of like the most amazing product that had never been invented, right? So they would write the sales letter as if this product was real, and they would write all the benefits and all the features and kind of make an imaginary product. And they would try to create a product in their mind that hit all of the frustrations and challenges that I wish I could just put on a cream and the acne would disappear like immediately. So they would, write that in the sales letter. And then they would go, okay, here's the product and they would take it to whatever it is, a company, and go create that product. And everything that they couldn't fulfill, right, then they would remove that from the sales letter, right? So the point is you go to the market first, and then you create to understand the market, and then you create a product for that market. But what we do I would say 95% of the time, 99% of the time probably, is our business owners, we come up with an idea and then we try and sell it to the market. That's actually backwards. So the point is, the market is number one. That's the most important. You need to know the market inside and out. And that's what these big companies or successful companies, they know their market inside and out, and then they position their product in a way that speaks to that market. So Subaru is a great example. They're a very outdoorsy type company. Toyota is more of like the Toyota Corolla is the best selling car in the world. And it's more just reliability, right? It's low cost, reliable, lasts forever. So that's how they position there. So different. It's knowing what your market wants and giving it to them basically is the secret to good marketing.
Right. And we've all seen the examples, because it happens many times of I have this way cool thing. Somebody must want it. Well, maybe they don't. But if you don't know, then why are you gonna? Now it's kind of the chicken and the egg thing, which comes first. I mean, you kind of have to have some ideas, like the car company knows, okay, we're selling cars. But it's we think people want this, but what do they really want? And we see that, like, you see ads, or, you see a product and it's like, well, that doesn't seem like the most important thing. And but somebody in their marketing department said, yes, it is.
Yes, exactly right. So, my kind of original trade when I started was copywriting, and that I said that's what I fell in love with. That's really what I do every day. That's why my clients hire me. It's not because I can load an ad into Facebook or whatever. It's more the positioning and the messaging. But copywriting, all it really is just reflecting your prospects' words back to them. So they will literally give you the message that you can use in your ads. So I'll give you a really great example. It happened yesterday. I was speaking to I have another company that I'm in, helping women in their finance, and my business partner, we were chatting, and she is doing some of the sales calls at the moment. And she said, one of the things that these women so these are women over 40 that are single, that are looking for help with their finances so that they can retire.
So she's got a pretty good niche defined.
Yeah. And one of the things that she said to me yesterday is like, I'm getting a lot of women who, like these divorced single women, they come to me and they say they're very kind of bitter because they say to her, I told my husband to do this with our money and do this with their money, and now I'm divorced and I've got no plan for retirement. And she's hearing that over and over again. Now, if it was just one person that said that randomly, okay, that's just something to put to the side, but she's hearing it constantly, right? And I said, that's really interesting. We could use that as an angle for an ad, right? Where the ad starts out with like, hey, are you kind of you're divorced, you're single,
Mhm.
and now, after, are you frustrated after telling your
Mhm.
husband to do X, Y, and Z? You now don't have a retirement plan.
Mhm.
Let me help you with that. That's what I
Mhm.
specialize in with women, helping them create passive
Mhm.
income in retirement, blah, blah. The point is, it's wording that we're hearing over and over again that we can now literally put often verbatim in our ads. And that's a message that where the women go, yes, that's me, right? Will it work? We don't know yet. It's a test that we have, right? So it's like $100 test. It doesn't cost a lot and that's the other great thing about online. It's a cheap test. But the point is, that's all copywriting is literally taking what your market is telling you, the words that they will give you, and then reflecting it back. Sometimes the wording is, sometimes the stuff that they won't tell you, and you have to fill in the gaps from having conversations with them.
Right.
There'll be things that are unsaid. You got to kind of read between the lines. But often it's just verbatim. They will tell you what, especially on one-on-one calls. Like forums are good. Anonymous forums are good for research. But yeah, that's all copywriting is. It's simple, not always easy, but it's a very straightforward process.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm an old school marketer. Do they still do focus groups? Because I remember doing those where, you brought in the 10, 15 people and you ask them, hey, if we're going to design a new car, what features would you want?
Yeah. So I don't know if they would that ask, well, they could ask that question, but a better question would be, what are your biggest frustrations with your current car? Because people can easily pick those out. Or what are your biggest frustrations with the XYZ competitor's car or whatever? So people more, it's kind of like asking people like, what do you want? A lot of people don't really know what they want to move
They're
to.
going to go,
they know
I need the car to go forward when,
Right. Yeah. So that's all. A lot of my marketing is finding the frustrations either with their current process or, competitors, and then creating a training or a product or whatever that just addresses those needs that aren't being met. That's all a frustration is basically. So that would be a better question. Yes, they do in the bigger companies, they do focus groups. There's other methods of research. Focus groups can sometimes give you, it's not 100% accurate data, right? So you've got to kind of, as I said, like you can ask questions and it can give you, asking questions is actually like asking questions that give you the right data is actually a very,
well, that's a skill.
It's a very hard skill. Yeah. People ask questions assuming, so I'll give you a great example. A lot of coaches that I work with, when they come to me, like, because their goal is they want an appointment in their calendar to close the sale, right?
Right.
Well, one of the questions that they often ask before they come, and I tell them why it's not a good question, is they'll ask, like, when someone's booking in, okay, I want to speak to this coach at like whatever it is, at 9 a.m. on Monday about helping me with my kids who are playing up or whatever. One of the questions I'll often ask is like, hey, if this is a good fit, are you ready to invest? Like, or do you have the money to invest? Or, are you ready? Yeah. Are you ready to move forward? Basically, if this is a good fit. Now that sounds like a straightforward question. It's like, well,
right. But it's a
it sounds like if you
question.
ask that question, it's going to give you that data, but it's not, because what's happening is you're asking the prospect to answer a question where they actually don't know anything about your program. So it's out of context. Another good question is like, do you have the finances to invest in yourself? That's a really common question.
Right.
Again, you're asking them to answer that question without knowing anything about your program, right? So they're asking.
Their response should be why? Why are you asking?
Yes. Well, that people will answer. They'll go, yes, I have the finances, or I could find finances or whatever. But you're asking that out of context of the sales conversation, right? So you think about a sales conversation, you get on the phone with someone, you ask them the discovery questions. What are you stuck with? What do you want to achieve? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, yes, I can help you. Here's how I can help. And you map out your pitch, right? So you go through your pitch. And then you explain how that program or product can help your prospect. Now they're much more informed.
Right.
Now they can, if you do your pitch right, now they can see, wow, this program is amazing. Yes, this can help me with my kids, or this can help me with my marriage. I need this, right? This is exactly what I'm looking for. And now if you ask them, hey, it's $5,000, now it's a different question, because now they have the full context, the full information about your program and how it's going to help them transform their marriage. Now, before, maybe they said, I don't have, I really don't have the money at the moment, but now they see your program and they go, I need to find it. Right. So so questions coming back to your question about focus groups, if you don't ask them the right way, they can give you the wrong data, and that can really skew your perception about the market. So you've got to kind of ask a question, then you've got to do other types of research as well. Yeah.
Right. Well, and of course, the tricky thing with focus groups is, you end up sometimes with one or two people who kind of take over. And
exactly right.
and even if you're doing online, whatever it is, it's just kind of human nature. I mean, like that's why in a jury trial you have like a foreperson. I mean, you have somebody who ends up being kind of in charge, and then you have people who are not going to say anything that goes counter to what the group is saying. They just go along, they do all of those
That's
things.
most people, by the way. Most people will, like, once there's one person that has like the strong personality, personalities, and then the rest will generally follow. So that you're exactly right. Yeah.
And so that's where, like you were saying, anonymous groups online, things like that, and or even just paying attention. I mean, maybe you're in the grocery store and you're just overhearing people talk.
Exactly right. Having one-on-one conversations as well. Like that's a big for my market with coaches. Just doing irregular sales calls. You get a lot of, as I said, like with my business partner yesterday, you get a lot of intel about your market just from having one-on-one conversations with your market. So if you're like running an e-commerce store or something more physical, where you're not actually speaking to your prospects one-on-one, that might be something that you want to add to your. And I think the business owner should be, even if you're not the one doing the marketing, you've got a copywriter or whatever, another section of your company doing that. I think it's important for the business owner to have their pulse on the market as well, because at the end of the day, that's who you're serving. If your message is veering away from your market, I mean, you look at what happened with Bud Light recently.
Oh, poor Bud Light.
Target's down 10 days in a row now.
Target's having trouble.
Yeah. So that's what happens when you craft a message that is not in alignment with your market.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the Bud Light one is a great example of that. When I think of Bud Light, I think of the good old boy who's working on his farm, fishing, hunting, whatever, who's drinking the beer. Well, that was not who their message was for. And then they were really surprised when it backfired. And as you said, I mean, you can segment your markets. They were trying to cross-pollinate, and they really couldn't understand why the good old boy wasn't happy with this message.
Funny that, isn't it?
I mean, it was one of those where those of us who do this for a living, right? We all looked at it and went, well, that was stupid.
Really stupid. Actually, a side note, people always complain that executives get paid so much money. Well, that's a really great example of why they get paid, because they have so much responsibility, right? So one decision, right? This executive, I don't think she's working with Bud Light.
No, she's not working there anymore.
Yeah. So what's it cost them? More than, I don't know, billions and billions and billions of dollars for one decision, right? To run this one campaign.
Right.
That's why executives get paid more, because they have so much responsibility on their shoulders to make the right decisions. Obviously, that was a really bad decision. I don't know. It's just a funny note that I wanted to mention there.
Yeah, it really was one of those where we all went, well, really?
Yeah.
You didn't, And the funny thing is, of course, they have other product lines that would have been better for that message. I mean, that was the whole thing. And I mean, that's nice when you have a big company, you have lots of different product lines. You can go, okay, well, this one appeals to this and this one appeals to this.
Or create a new one or whatever,
Yeah. And I mean, that's why, I'm from Colorado, where Coors beer is, it's actually owned by somebody else now, but they created Zima as, this totally different product line to appeal to, the younger, hipper females. I mean, because Coors was typically, for men. And so they created an entire new product line. It kind of lasted for a while. It kind of didn't. I actually, I liked SEMA, but I was their target demographic.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, they just, and I think, we've touched on it. The fact that, they might have, their little sales team got together and went, "Ooh, this sounds really good." But then they didn't bother to ask the actual consumers, "What do you
Right.
think about this?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, should have done a small. And that's the other
Mhm.
thing is like once you have a message, you can test
Mhm.
it small, right? So the
Right.
equivalent to that online is just run $100
Mhm.
campaign, as I said
Right.
before. But
Mhm.
yeah, maybe take the product idea or the new
Mhm.
product to a bar
Mhm.
in,
Yeah, with
full of
Bud Light,
guys
that
and
would have been
say, hey,
pretty easy.
what do you think of this?
Mhm. Right.
You're like,
Right.
no, I wouldn't go down that.
Mhm. Yeah.
You've saved
You know,
yourself $10 billion by
I
doing
know. Yeah.
something.
Or yeah, and you could have put that 10 billion towards developing a different product line,
Yeah,
and
exactly
but
right.
but yeah, it's I mean, and the thing about them is they're so big that they'll be okay. Those
Yes,
poor
right.
people,
In
that
the
got
long run.
fired. But
Yeah.
the problem though is when you are a small business and one
Mm.
decision like that might cost you your entire business.
Yeah, exactly right. Yes, you have to. So in I was reading a book the other day, advertising book, but the first one I'd read in like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years. I don't really read them too much anymore. It's called Seducing Strangers, and it's the guy who he was one of the, I think he was a co-producer on Mad Men, the TV show, but he's
Mm-hmm.
also an advertiser.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like informing that he was like one of the consultants on the show to
Mm-hmm.
inform them, hey, here's how a person would approach an advertising
Mm-hmm.
campaign. Anyway, um, so wait, what were we talking about? Sorry, I just got lost then.
Bud Light and knowing who you're supposed to be reaching.
Oh my gosh, I just lost my
Oh
train of
no,
thought.
it'll come back. It'll come
It
back.
will, it will. I'm sure it will. Yeah, don't worry about it then. I don't know what I was trying to think of
That
the
happens with
show, and
me
then
on
my
the, I'm
mind
like
went
I
blank.
said, squirrel. Um,
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
yeah. And I think the other thing with advertising that we always have to keep in mind is not just knowing who we actually need to reach, but how to reach
Mm,
them. I
mm.
had somebody the other day said, you need to do this on TikTok. And I said, no, I'm not on TikTok. The people we need to reach are not on TikTok. Or I was watching a TV program and it was like, one of the crime ones, people were getting shot and all sorts of stuff. And it was late at night. I mean, it was after
Yeah.
10 p.m. and a commercial for children's cereal came on. And
Oh
I
well,
thought,
that's
oh, that was wasted money.
yeah, 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 yeah,
And that was probably one of those where, there was ad space available and some very good person at,
yeah.
they were able to convince them, hey, you should advertise this cereal. But yeah, it was don't, and especially with when you're spending money. I mean, it's one thing to choose the wrong social platform. You're only going
Yeah.
to lose your time. But yeah, if you're spending your money, you need to know where you need to be spending it to get the biggest bang for your buck.
Yes, is that exactly right. Especially in the beginning of your business, you want to
Mm-hmm.
just go directly to where
Mm-hmm.
your customers or clients generally are.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's no harm in testing on other platforms later
Right.
on. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but you definitely don't want to start there.
Mm-hmm. Right. And as you said, in a lot of cases, it's pretty inexpensive. And you can do A/B testing, you can do all sorts of things.
Mm.
But yeah, it is definitely something. Now, Luke, what do you tell people who just say, I can't afford advertising?
Yeah, I honestly, so there's kind of two schools of thought in whether you should start ads at the beginning of your business
Mm-hmm.
or more like once you've made sales and
Okay.
kind of proven your offer or product or whatever. I'm of the probably the minority here saying that you should do advertising right away.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is so generally like when a business owner starts, they're trying to do the free strategies, right? Whether it's
Mm-hmm.
PR or podcast interviews or
Mm-hmm.
going in Facebook groups, whatever it is, to sell their program or their product. And the problem with that in the beginning is your audience is so small that it's very hard to test your message, right? So for example,
Okay.
let's say I put a post up in a Facebook group and I go, hey
Mm-hmm.
everyone, I've got this new program. Here's what it's about. If you're interested, book an appointment on my calendar here,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you put out an offer.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be a pitch for your program. It could literally be an elite, free guide or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. And you don't get any appointments or you
Mm-hmm.
get barely any people opting in or signing
Right.
up for your
So you
webinar,
think,
whatever it is. Well, the problem is you think, is my offer the problem or is
mm-hmm.
it that there's no audience, right? So
Right.
when you have no traffic, it's very hard to tell what the problem is and what's wrong. Is it my message, or is it just that there's no people? And it actually takes a lot longer to figure out your message. Right. So this, for example, to build your list, you might be getting an email, a subscriber once a week or twice a week or whatever it is. And that's not enough emails coming onto your list to send regular emails to get appointments, right? So, so I'm of the school of thought that you want to be doing advertising right away so you can test your message a lot faster. So for example, like I have clients that come to me, they've never run ads before. And some are like newer coaches, and we take them from zero to filling their calendar right away because I've done this so often. But also because we can, spend say $500 to $1,000 and test a lot of things and go, okay, this is the message for you. Right now, off you go. Now you're getting appointments in your calendar. Okay. The downside is, you've got to spend money, but it's actually an opportunity cost. If you're spending 6, 12, 2 years to figure out your message, and I'm doing it in 2 months because I'm running ads, like, okay, sure, you've done it for free for like 2 years, but have you really done it for free? Like, what's the opportunity cost of and the problem with opportunity cost is we don't feel the pain, right? And so until later on. So for me, I was doing free strategies for many years, and I didn't realize how much I'd actually lost looking back by not doing ads right away. Now, does that mean I recommend that you do ads by yourself? Absolutely not. You shouldn't be jumping into Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever your audience is and trying to do it by yourself. You'll end up wasting a lot of money.
Right.
I recommend that if this is your business and you're serious about growing this as a serious business, and when I say serious, I just mean like this is your kind of career, right? This is your focus. If you only want to get to whatever it is, 5K, 10K a month, fine, that's fine. But if this is a business that you want to do as a career, then I recommend that you hire a mentor that's done what you want to do, like really good, not a fake guru. Do your due diligence, because I hired some really bad mentors.
There's lots of wannabes and fakes out there.
There's heaps. So number one, hire someone that knows ads. And if you don't have the cash flow, well, I mean, most people that are starting a business, you can bootstrap. What I did is I actually got a side gig in a bar, working just a part-time, so I could pay for advertising. And then I ended up working, as I said, in that agency, and they actually paid me to learn from them, which was pretty cool. Yeah. And so I was doing that part-time as well as, still running ads in my own business and using what I learned in the agency to run my own ads. Anyway, the point is, find a way to get cash flow to pay for your ads. And literally advertising can be as little as $20 a day in the beginning, $30 a day. I mean, the more you spend, the more things you can test. But yeah, my clients, the newer coaches, are starting at say $30 a day or so, to $30 to $50 a day. But in the testing phase, maybe $100 a day maximum. Even for my 7-figure clients, that's all I spend is $100 a day on a particular campaign, because you don't need to spend a lot of money. And that will tell me very quickly after $100, I know whether the campaign's resonating, like whether the message is resonating or not. If it is, I keep the ads going. If it's not, I just turn it off and try a different headline or whatever it is. Right. So I'm of this thought that you should be running ads right away so you can test your message and find out what's resonating for your market, for your particular program or product. And so you can actually get to your end goal a lot faster. There's so much opportunity cost in the free organic strategies. I reckon you should do the organic. Like, I have a podcast, but I didn't do that first. I do that now that I've got my advertising running. I add organic strategies later. The advertising is converting, and that's because those organic strategies are great. They'll bring in free leads and product sales or whatever, but they're more of a slow burn. They take, if you're doing a blog, you've got to do it regularly for years. If you're doing a podcast, you have to look at a podcast as like literally. I mean, you know what it's like, Deb, is the first couple of years you're just kind of building that momentum, and then it's going to take at least a couple of years to start getting good momentum in your podcast. So any organic strategy, it has to have that long-term view. Most people don't have that long-term view. They want it to work right away. Right. And they don't have the patience. So then they go from blogging to like, I need to do a Facebook group, and this is not working. I need to do DMs. This is not working. I need to do a podcast, whatever it is. Right. So
and they give it like a month.
Right.
Folks, sometimes this takes 6 months. It takes a year.
Right. But people don't want to hear that, unfortunately. If you had a marketing message saying, hey, I'll help you get clients in a year, it's not going to be that appealing to people.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where all the fake promises come in.
Mm-hmm.
But with advertising, you can, if you know what you're doing, you can actually bring in results very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's the thing. If you know what you're doing, that's why you've got to speak to someone.
Yeah. You're not putting your children's cereal ad on the crime show at 10 o'clock at night.
Right. Exactly right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Well, and you also have to look at the other things. I mean, especially with people who are starting out in business, they'll say, okay, I'm going to network. I'm going to go to all of this. And I actually thought about this a lot during COVID, because I used to do and attend 2 or 3 networking events, sometimes a week. Mm-hmm. And then of course, poof, you couldn't do that anymore. Right. And so I sat down and I thought about it, and I didn't really think about it until I did my end of the year accounting for my accountant so that she could do our taxes. And she went, where did your expenses go? Now she knew, obviously COVID, we weren't out and about, but I would spend so much money per month going to this networking, mm-hmm. chamber, whatever it was. And there was always a cost associated with it. Maybe it was $30, maybe it was $10, whatever it was. And there was also the cost of my time. So, mm-hmm. It wasn't just that I was going and it was an hour program. Well, no, maybe it was a 45-minute drive each way. And so my little bit of thing all of a sudden was 3 hours, and it cost me $30. And then I started adding that up, and that's where it was like, ooh. And I very quick, and then of course my thought process went to, because I'm not doing that, have I lost business? Mm-hmm. And that answer was no, because I transitioned and started doing my networking online. The 3-hour thing, you could do multiple things online between, mm-hmm. I didn't have to put on shoes, all of those various things. And so, and I love those groups. I actually still belong, because I think it's important to support them, and things like that. But it did not hurt my business at all to not do that. And so I think that's the other thing people need to think about is, okay, well, I was spending $100 a week to do that. What if I now spent that $100 on advertising?
Right. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, there's, people, they often say I don't have the money for ads, but mm-hmm. I mean, it can be as simple as, pulling it from somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
It could be
right.
Subscriptions you're not
if
really
you went
using,
to Starbucks
like
3 times a week, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. And as I said, if one of the most pivotal points in my life, that changed my life, was getting that gig with mm-hmm. In an agency back in 2016. Mm-hmm. So he's actually still my mentor to this day. His name's Jason Hornung, and mm-hmm. and as I said, went into his agency, went $200,000 a month, literally overnight, was thrown in the deep end. Mm-hmm. And so my learning curve of advertising just went through mm-hmm. the roof. And because he was a legitimate expert, mm-hmm. I was able to then take those skills that he basically taught me, mm-hmm. his frameworks, etc., and now use it with other clients for since 2016. Mm-hmm. That has transformed my life. So mm-hmm. the point is, the value of a really good mentor, mm-hmm. Someone that, and there's the unfortunate thing is there's not that many people that are like real good experts. Mm-hmm. And if they are, then I mean, you can pay for them, which is fine, which mm-hmm. is what you should do. Or if you go into their company, they'll have other coaches that mm-hmm. help you, and I don't recommend doing that, because if the coaches that work for them were actually legitimate experts, they'd have their own company.
Right. They'd be off on their own. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I am not a proponent of going into, I'd find a legitimate expert mm-hmm. who's done what you want, and actually go to them and pay them, mm-hmm. right? So do your research, spend time. And that's what mm-hmm. I didn't do in the beginning. Do your research on finding out who the legitimate experts are, and mm-hmm. work with them directly, mm-hmm. get direct one-on-one, not like mm-hmm. a 5-minute, group call. So when I say mm-hmm. work with them directly, I don't mean you're on a group call with 50 other people and you get 5 minutes with them, mm-hmm. because they need to be able to go into your campaigns right. and look at your messaging and look at your target mm-hmm. market and have time to think. Mm-hmm. And that's why I don't have coaches working for me, because I know how much time it takes to go into someone's, mm-hmm. Their avatar, their market, mm-hmm. and look at their messaging, and then mm-hmm. sit there and think, go away and think, and come back, because mm-hmm. these turning advertising into high paying clients it's not an easy thing to do. It takes a lot of, it's pretty straightforward in terms of like what you have to do, but it just takes time and a lot of effort. And if you're on a 5-minute call once a week with the main expert, you're not going to get the feedback that you need to be able to get the results that you want. So find the expert, pay them what they're worth, and get one-on-one, like hands-on consulting help with your campaigns. That's the best way to succeed. So you don't want to leave any stone unturned in terms of being able to be successful. That's the best way to do it. Don't half-ass it, as they say.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you talk a lot about, and you've got some great resources on your website, is emails. And you've already mentioned lists. Your Facebook friends, your LinkedIn connections, folks, those are not your lists.
No.
No. And I found that out the hard way when I lost access to my Facebook account for a while. It was like, oh my gosh, so, now we won't tell, but you can download your LinkedIn connections. But don't just spam them. No, bad. But talk to us about why it's so important to have your own list, and then how do we craft these emails? I know, and we don't have much time left, which just means we just have to have you on again.
Okay. Why? If you think about it, like, every company has like the foundation of their, in terms of the being able to produce sales is a list, right? At the end of the day, it's like another way of looking at it is your database. Right. So when you get a client or a customer or even just an email subscriber, that goes into the database. So every company has this database. It could be a coach, it could be a manufacturer selling little widgets. I'm holding up a Silver Eagle. And the Silver Eagle, they have they sell the Silver Eagles to different bullion dealers or whatever, so they have their own prospects. So every company has a list, and so your list is your it's kind of like the lifeblood of your company. If you ever want sales, you go to your list first and provide. Obviously, you want to provide a service or a product that fits their needs, but it is it's just a place for you to go to generate sales. It's your warmest market, in other words. So there's like people that have no idea who you are, they've never heard of you, people that have heard of you, that are out there, maybe seen an ad of yours, but they're not on your list. People that maybe they're in a Facebook group of yours, or they've been to your website and they read your blog, listen to your podcast. Then there are people that are on your list, right? So they're becoming more aware of you, more educated on your products. Then there are your clients and customers that have bought, right? They know your program, they know your product, service, whatever it is. That's your hottest market. And so your list is like the foundation of your the lifeblood of your company, basically.
Right. And I mentioned on your website, you've got you can download the 9 email offers that get coaching clients free. I've got it. I'm going to read it. And I can't wait to do that. But we've only got about 5 minutes left. And so, like I said, we have to have you on again. So I love this. I was looking on your website, and I would be remiss if I didn't talk about this. It's your about page, and you say Master of Marketing, Student of Persuasion. That's great. We love it. And then you have Drinker of Whiskey and Aussie Hermit. So we love the Drinker of Whiskey part, but why Aussie Hermit?
Well, I'm Australian, so that's the Aussie part, and I'm a hermit, so I just put those two together. No. So this is it's an email technique, just a small one for people to remember me by, basically to stand out. So all I've done there is I've kind of exaggerated my personality and just given myself a name. So if you want to, it's one way to stand out with your emails and your market is to exaggerate your personality. So I'm a hermit in that I'm a homebody and I like to stay home, and I'm Australian. Most of my market is in the US. That's where most of my clients come from. So US people generally like Aussie, so that's why I played up that part. And then the hermit part is it's just an exaggeration of me being a homebody. So the Aussie Hermit is just a way to stand out and be memorable in the emails.
Right. And I love that, because it's not really a tagline, but it is the way that people can remember you. And I love that. It's perfect. Especially after talking to you. It's like, oh yeah, that's you.
Well, look at me. My room's dark still and everything.
Well, it's the crack of dawn there for you. I mean,
Actually, I can probably open the window now. The sun's up, so
oh good.
You can see a bit of sun coming through now.
Yeah, and see, it's almost cocktail time for me.
Yeah.
So you gotta love this. Well, Luke, we've been having a great conversation, and as I said, we have to do this again because you've got such great information. But how do people find you, and what are the services that you provide?
Yeah, so generally my ideal client is a coach, a consultant, like a high ticket sales professional that is wanting to get into advertising, or ideally they're already running ads and they either want help scaling their campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
So I have campaigns where we're spending up to $70,000, $100,000 a month, sometimes higher.
Mm-hmm.
And then some that are just getting started. So if you
Mm-hmm.
want to be able to turn advertising into clients, high paying
Mm-hmm.
clients, then that's who I help.
Mm-hmm.
The way to know more about me is just go to lukecharlton.com. But as I said, if you go there, you can get the 9 email offers,
Mm-hmm.
that download, and you can jump on my list and you can see how I do my emails.
Yes, I'm now on your list. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So you'll see that. And then the other way is if you want to speak to me directly, I'll for your audience, Deb, I have a free call, like a free game plan, scaling game plan. So just go to lukesfreegameplan.com and there you'll get a one-on-one consultation with me. Now I don't do sales calls anymore. So this is kind of like a gift to your audience.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, so basically I'll just jump on the phone, do a one-on-one consult, find out about their campaigns, what they're stuck with, go through their numbers. Then I'll map out a plan on exactly what they need to do to fix the challenges that they have with their campaigns. I've done this a long time, as I mentioned, so there's not really a problem that I haven't seen or been able to solve. So just lukesfreegameplan.com and you should be able to book a spot on my calendar there.
Perfect. I love it. So I wrote that down so that I can get it in the show notes.
Cool.
This has been delightful. And I think it's, it is reminding us that the basics are what we need to be focusing on. There's lots of flashy things, especially in the world of tech. I mean, we didn't even talk about, oh my gosh, AI and all of those various things. I think there's still people. It helps. I mean, I was writing some copy earlier today and I put it into Chat GPT and I went, ooh, that's better than I could write. But I had to put it in there and then I had to fine tune it. So, it's until it can actually read my mind, which, it would go,
don't want to go down that path.
There's creating images, and all sorts of stuff. I think, all of those things, they're just going to help us do what we do. But, I would love to have you on again because we, like I said, we just touched the surface on emails and things like that. So I would love to have you back. But until then, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
Final thoughts. It's probably maybe a recap of everything we discussed, and you kind of just touched on it there, which is if your campaigns aren't working, your marketing and sales, it's almost never like a bright shining object, a new thing that you need. It's like what in your marketing and sales process, what the fundamentals are you not implementing? So when a message is not resonating, often it's an offer problem. Okay, like you're not presenting your product or your service. It could be an offer to get them in the calendar. It could be an offer to get them to subscribe to the email list. If they're not taking the action that you want them to take, you're not presenting them an offer that is appealing for them to take that action. Okay. And the final thing is the way that that you have to get the right offer is not by looking at your offer. It's by going to the market and again, researching the market and finding out what are their pain points, their frustrations, and then going, okay, does my offer match up? Obviously it's not because it's not working. How can I reposition this? How can I change the headline? How can I explain this differently, maybe more clearly, to explain the benefit that I'm trying to get across? And then I'll test that message. So it's just a iterative process basically. But yeah, look to the fundamentals to fix your campaign issues is what I would say.
I love it. Well, I've been having such a great conversation with Luke Charlton. I'm Deb Creer. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.